We're starting with a fresh chapter, reinsurance. We completed loss distribution in the morning. One thing, you have a single booklet, revision notes booklet for both these chapters, loss distribution and reinsurance. You generally don't have standalone questions coming from loss distribution chapter. Whatever they want to test you on from that loss distribution chapter, they can easily do that through this reinsurance related sums. So all that they have to do is the claim amounts will follow one of those new distributions that you learned in the previous chapter. So automatically आपके सारे calculations and everything test हो जाते हैं इसमें. So actually the previous chapter was kind of like a prep for this one. So if in case question comes from this, you generally get a single question from both the chapters. Talking about reinsurance, so what we already know is a policy holder or a customer front to protect itself, it buys an insurance policy from an insurance company. So policy holder ने अपना risk pass on कर दिया insurance company को by making a payment of certain premium amount. Now, an insurance company, to protect itself from large claims or to protect itself from the risk involved here, it insures or purchases insurance from a reinsurance company. Now, a reinsurance company basically deals with insurance companies. It never deals with customers or policy holders directly. तो reinsurance company का जो client होता है वो customer और पॉलिसी होल्डर्स नहीं होगा. रीइंश्योरेंस कंपनी का क्लाइंट ही इंश्योरेंस कंपनी है. उसका काम ही है टू कवर द रिस्क ऑफ एन इंश्योरेंस कंपनी एंड इंश्योरेंस कंपनी इज डीलिंग विद द पॉलिसी होल्डर. बट इवेंचुअली जो भी कैपिटल फ्लो हो रहा है वो यहाँ से ही हो रहा है. So when an insurance company underwrites a policy and if it plans to take reinsurance by passing it risk to a reinsurance company, whatever money that needs to come to cover for the premium that needs to be paid to a reinsurance company is eventually going to be coming from here only. So just clearing it out right from the beginning कि जब premium charge होगा तो ओनली बिकॉज इंश्योरेंस कंपनी ने री इंश्योरेंस बाय किया है doesn't mean reinsurance company goes back to the policy holder and asks for money. It is now insurance company's responsibility. तो जब भी प्रीमियम चार्ज होगा पूरा का पूरा प्रीमियम इंश्योरेंस कंपनी चार्ज करेगी taking into consideration its own profit margin, its own expenses, everything. Also the expenses that needs to be incurred from reinsurance company's point of view. So over here, like I said, it's the insurance that an insurance company is purchasing from another company and we're calling them reinsurance company, which is why we say reinsurance is nothing but reinsurance is nothing but insurance for insurance company, which it purchases to cover or protect itself from large claim amounts. Obviously, this is one of the reasons, one simple general explanation. So there are various reasons to actually, if I sit to list down, you can have a good 1-2 pages only to discuss of why an insurance company would think of buying reinsurance. Just to name a few, it helps First thing, it helps to limit the liability. Now we are not listing down why reinsurance companies selling such policies. At any point of time in the chapter, we are thinking from insurance company's point of view. I will be trying to answer question, should I buy this reinsurance or no? How much profit will I get if I buy this particular reinsurance? What is best suited for me? How do I take into consideration reinsurance and accordingly charge the premium to my policyholder? All those things from an insurance company's point of view. So one thing, I'm able to limit my liability. For example, अभी reinsurance में बहुत सारे types होते हैं. One very major classification that I can make is where you're taking reinsurance on individual policies, जहाँ पे मैं individually एनालाइज करूंगी कि मेरे को कितना पेमेंट री इंश्योरेंस कंपनी से आएगा और मेरे को खुद से कितना पेमेंट करना है, एंड देन द एंटायर पेमेंट गोज टू इज रीइंबर्स्ड टू द पॉलिसी होल्डर. तो इंडिविजुअल पॉलिसी का आपका ट्रीटी हो सकता है, और योर ट्रीटी कुड बी वेर यू आर लुकिंग एट एग्रीगेट अमाउंट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, I might say, so I'm going to come back to these reasons. I'm just giving you some more reference to the whole thing. So what I'm saying is I might say कि अगर मैं suppose individual policy की बात कर रही हूँ, so probably my arrangement is such that for each policy, as long as the claim is up to or less than maybe 5,000, up to that amount, I will take care of the entire claim. I will make the payment. I will not involve the reinsurance company at all. Anything in excess of 5,000 for each policy, that reinsurance is going to reimburse it to me, and because it is covering that range of claim amount for all the policy holders. So anything above 5,000, I'm going to ask reinsurance to pay me that additional. Suppose claim 8,000 ka aaya hai. So that additional 3,000, I might ask कि आप reinsurance company, we have got into this arrangement, you pay me that 3,000 bucks. This is when I'm looking at एक एक करके policies को अगर मैं देख रही हूँ. Absolute same arrangement, I could hold on an aggregate claim amount also. Meaning मैं individual policies consider नहीं करने वाली हूँ. I'm going to say anything up to and including 2 million, I will take care of it. Anything in excess of 2 million on aggregate of the entire policy holder, that portfolio that I'm looking at, anything above 2 million, reinsurance company is going to reimburse me. So if you notice, the concept remains the same, but I might be looking at individual policy or aggregate amount. That depends upon what is my arrangement or my treaty with the reinsurance company. Your entire chapter, by default, if I don't mention anything, so by default throughout the chapter, I'm dealing with individual policies. So any method that I describe, any question that I'm solving, until and unless mentioned otherwise, I'm going to look at it as individual policy के लिए मैंने risk लिया है, तो हर policy अलग-अलग analyze होगा. In your R programming, there are a couple of questions जहाँ पे वो लोग ने aggregate वाला part explain कर दिया है question में, and they're asking you to adapt the code and work it out for an aggregate amount also. But right now we're kind of going to focus on this individual policy. So now coming back to this, first reason, like I told you, I'm able to limit the liability on a specific risk. This is happening because there is risk transfer that has happened. Either in the form of some limit like 5,000, 8,000 I mentioned, or it could be in the form of some percentage. Meaning I might say that for every policy, I will take care of 60% and the reinsurance company will take care of 40%. So even if my claim amount is of $100, just to give you an example, तो 60 rupees I will pay, 40 rupees reinsurance is going to pay. So irrespective कितना बड़ा claim है या कितना छोटा claim है, I will continue and involve reinsurance with every claim that comes on any particular in that portfolio, as long as the policy is coming from the portfolio. So the first and foremost is I'm able to limit my liability. Why? Because there has been some percentage or some level of risk transfer that has occurred. So automatically this will lead to stabilize my claims experience. Meaning now, if you think over it, now I probably have an upper cap like 5,000, meaning at no point of time I have to worry that I will have to make a very large claim amount. I know that maximum for every policy holder, meko 5,000 tak hi pay karna hai. Anything over and above that, I don't have to worry about it at all. So it kind of stabilizes my claims experience. In fact, I can say it will help me to reduce average claim amount. So as you know, your mean depends on extreme values. So if I'm able to put an upper limit, I know as extreme as 5,000, that's it. And anything above that is not something that I have to worry about. So मेरा on an average claim amount reduce होगा and मेरा variability भी reduce होगा. Variance is nothing but spread. By putting an upper limit there, can I say I'm automatically reducing the spread as an insurance company also? So buying a reinsurance or purchasing a reinsurance is going to help me reduce overall average claim amount and the variability which is there in these claim amounts, which eventually is helping me to stabilize my overall claims experience. Also, if you think about, it is going to protect me against catastrophes. So suppose mine is a dominant insurance company in a particular country or a particular state or an area. So majorly area में सबको policies या insurance मैंने ही बेचा है as an insurance company. I hold the major chunk of the whole, major proportion of the whole insurance that has been purchased. Now for somebody like me who's responsible for all the insurances here, if a natural calamity occurs, I know that all of those claims or that entire liability at a sudden point of time comes onto me as the insurance company. So those are the times, can I say, basically where I'm trying to protect myself, or maybe I'm trying to buy a reinsurance policy only for such catastrophic events as well. So you have a lot of variety, first of all, in reinsurance company. You may as well go ahead and protect yourself against certain kind of risk that you want to averse. So one major type of reinsurance that is playing a role in the country right now is these catastrophic reinsurances. Also, I may as well go ahead and buy such reinsurance policies to increase my risk appetite. So what happens is, again, as an insurance company, I cannot sell as many policies as I wish to. There are certain regulations by SEBI that we have to follow which basically says that you have an upper limit, a risk appetite, a maximum of these many policies or a maximum of this much risk that you can take based on your solvency, based on your financial position. So sometimes to increase that risk appetite, sometimes to reach out to a broader customer areas, I might want to release some of that risk that I have taken by passing on that risk to a reinsurance company. So, an insurance and a reinsurance company are basically sharing the risk. The whole idea of reinsurance is basically sharing of risk. And obviously, sharing of risk है तो sharing of premium भी होगा. So, accordingly, there will be some fixed payment that will go to reinsurance company. So considering all these things in mind, just to understand in general what we are going to deal with, one thing always keep in mind, policy holders से जो पैसा आएगा या जो payout जाएगा, that everything that deal will be with the insurance company. At no point of time policy holder will go to a reinsurance company or vice versa to ask for money. Reinsurance companies providing insurances to the clients being insurance companies only, not an individual person. And there are various reasons to why an insurance company would want to go ahead with such arrangements. Overall, like I told you, दो variety है, individual or aggregate. We will try and focus on individual policies at the moment, unless mentioned otherwise in the question. So with reinsurance, the company passes on some part of its insurance liabilities to other insurance company. That is, in short, what you can know in for you to be able to understand a certain question that's going to come in your way. Now, from what we need for the chapter. So far, what we were discussing, generally there are no questions in terms of explain reinsurance, explain the need for reinsurance, and definitely these 4 or 5 points that I've mentioned are not exhaustive in nature. There are many more points if you research on it. But this is all for your understanding only. From chapter's point of view, they have discussed two types of reinsurance in the chapter. One called as proportional reinsurance. The other one called as excess of loss reinsurance. The shorthand that we use for this is XOL. Now, proportional reinsurance, I want to first discuss on this. This is the easier one. Both of them are very easy, very intuitive in nature. But proportional in comparison will be easier in terms of calculations. बहुत straightforward calculations आते हैं usually proportional में. Proportional, as the name suggests, it is some equal or rather I'll say proportionate sharing of premium and claims. Basically, in this arrangement, there will be a retained proportion or percentage that will be mentioned. When I say retained, I by default mean retained by insurance company. And this we denote it as alpha. So when I say retained proportion is 65%, alpha will be denoted as 0.65, and that 0.65 is the proportion retained by insurance company. So the other half goes to reinsurance company. Usually generally alpha tends to take a value more than 50%. हमेशा इंश्योरेंस कंपनी का परसेंटेज हायर होता है बिकॉज इट्स नॉट ओनली द क्लेम्स जिसका प्रपोर्शन जा रहा है, इट विल ऑल्सो बी द प्रीमियम दैट विल हैव टू बी शेयर्ड. सो जनरली इंश्योरेंस कंपनी का परसेंटेज ज्यादा होता है. दिस इज जस्ट सो यू अंडरस्टैंड. कभी कभी अगर उल्टा रेफरेंस ले लिया, क्वेश्चन में दिया है 0.85 एंड फॉर सम रीजन यू बिलीव इट इज री इंश्योरेंस शेयर, you think again about it because generally जो higher percentage होगा, अगर आपको question का language देख के नहीं समझ रहा है, it's always kind of insurance company का percentage. In fact, if your question says, so this one is also called as proportional, is also called as quota share reinsurance. If your question says that you have a 25% proportional reinsurance in force or 25% quota share reinsurance in force, this language is usually telling you that this 25% is 1 minus alpha. See, automatically agar alpha is what insurance company ka is retaining, 1 minus alpha because there are only two parties involved, 100% में से अगर alpha percentage insurance का है तो 1 minus alpha reinsurance का होगा. So whenever it is mentioned in this form, and I'm not only saying because it was 25% and less than 0.5 and hence I've taken it written 1 minus alpha is 0.25. It's just the language. If the question says that 25% proportional reinsurance is in force, that 25%, that percentage that we use in the name of the reinsurance will usually be what is retained by an insurance company. So 1 minus alpha, we will denote it as 0.25. To give you some general notations on this, see, this we will discuss a little later. I don't want to mix up the two right now. Just to tell you overall chapter में ये दो types हैं. To give you some general notations which will work for both in general for the entire chapter. You have X denoting the total claim amount. Sometimes we also call it as gross amount or gross claim amount. If a reinsurance is in force, I can split this amount of X into two parts. One that's paid by insurance company, the other one that's paid by reinsurance company. So Y over here, we have two notations Y and Z, such that when you add Y and Z, your total claim amount of X. And like I said, this total here does not stand for aggregate. This total here does not stand for aggregate. It stands for total individual claim amount only. कि total individual claim amount 8,000 है, उसमें से हम split कर रहे हैं कि insurance company कितना pay करेगा और reinsurance company कितना pay करेगा. So Y is basically insurer's claim amount. Sometimes also, agar at any point of time when you see the word net claim amount usually insurance company के लिए होगा because insurance company is the one dealing with both. तो उसके लिए insurance company के लिए gross amount 8,000 है और उसके लिए नेट अमाउंट 5,000 है बिकॉज उसमें से 3,000 री इंश्योरेंस के पास जा रहा है। री इंश्योरर डजंट रियली इज वर्किंग इन ग्रॉस एंड नेट। री इंश्योरर को यूजुअली उतना ही अमाउंट जाता है जितना इट इज लाइबल टू पे, तो उसके लिए जो अमाउंट है वो नेट ही है, या तो वो इन्वॉल्व ही नहीं है वो पर्टिकुलर पॉलिसी में। यूजुअली मतलब अगर नेट वर्ड यूज करते हैं वो इंश्योरर के लिए करते हैं बिकॉज ही इज द वन हु इज डीलिंग विद बोथ द पार्टीज, द पॉलिसी होल्डर ऑल्सो एंड द री इंश्योरर ऑल्सो. So obviously the second one here, Z, meaning reinsurers claim amount. So this relation should hold. Now, if I take expectation on both the end, whatever is my expected claim amount will be sum of what I was expecting as an insurance company plus what I was expecting as a reinsurance company. So intuitively also and by formula also, expectation of x plus y can always be written as E of x plus E of y. The reason being XY related है, independent है, उससे फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता है. Expectation can always be split into E of y and E of z. Variance on the other hand, that's not true. If I have variance of x, which means variance of y plus z, it doesn't always mean that it will be equal to variance of y plus variance of z. Because y and z clearly are not independent in this case. So variance ऐसा नहीं होता है कि insurer का variance plus reinsurer का variance add किया तो total variance आ जाएगा. That's not how variance as a concept works. So you can at any point of time use this formula without giving it a thought. अगर for some reason आपको दोनों expectation पूछा है and आपके पास ये है और ये है तो तीसरा subtraction से आ जाएगा. But for variance, don't do that. We're going to see all of this mathematically also, but I'm just telling you because it comes as long as you know your CS1K certain properties, this comes through that as well. So coming back to proportional reinsurance, I said here there is some proportionate sharing of premium and claim. There will be some retained proportion that will be given in the question. Carefully read how the question is framed, whether they're telling you that the retained proportion is so and so, or they're telling you it is a 30% quota share reinsurance. Accordingly, आपका alpha or 1 minus alpha assign होगा. But once you've done all of that and once you know all of these notations, can I say the idea is simply y, which is the reinsurer's amount, insurer's amount. Can I say it is nothing but alpha percent of the total claim amount x? Meaning if x is 10,000 and alpha is 70%, my insurer's net amount will become 70% of that 10,000. So just by understanding what proportional mean, can I say this will be my mathematical model for this particular arrangement? Y is equal to alpha times x. And therefore, if someone's asking me what is expected value of y, I will say it is alpha times expected value of x. You very well know that alpha being a constant can be taken out. Similarly, if I have to find variance of y, variance of alpha x, this will become alpha squared times variance of x. Some basic calculations if at all. On a very similar line, I can say z is equal to 1 minus alpha times x. So obviously reinsurer का proportion 30% है, so it is 30% of the actual claim amount. So on a very similar lines, E of Z will be expectation of 1 minus alpha times x meaning it is 1 minus alpha times E of x. Similarly, for variance of reinsurer, I can directly now write it as 1 minus alpha square times variance of x. All right, so before we move any forward with anything else, let's just try a couple of questions first, and then we'll see if we can move to excess of loss. I'm just taking a pause. Let me know if you have any queries here. So in case no question, I'm sharing on no questions or doubts from your end. I am sharing one question from your CS2 notes. So you'll be able to see it on the screen. It's from chapter 18, page 11 of the chapter. So I'm starting with a very easy sum. Try it, let me know क्या answer आ रहा है. Then I'll give you one more too, which is a little higher notch than this one. All right, so your answers should be, you should have cross-checked वैसे तो, but still I'm writing it here. Your E of, see x का तो distribution दिया है तो E of x और V of x तो सीधा फॉर्मूला में डाल के आ जाएगा जनरलाइज्ड परेटो का. फिर उसको ये वाले फॉर्मूलाज में सब्स्टिट्यूट करके यू विल गेट E of y 128, variance of y 9216, expectation of z is 32, variance of z is 576. Amaya perfect? No, yeah, correct. Lovely. So you also must have noticed ऐसे questions exam में नहीं आएंगे, just so that these formulas get registered. The question that I have to try is now this one. So we'll do this one together. This one says a sample of reinsurers payments. मतलब ये जो अमाउंट्स दिए हैं आपको वो x1, x2, x3 नहीं है, टेक्निकली z1, z2, z3 है, क्योंकि री इंश्योरेंस का पेमेंट्स का सैंपल है यहाँ पे. You're working under a proportional reinsurance arrangement consisting of these values in units of thousands of pounds. Original claim amount meaning x has a gamma distribution. Retained proportion meaning, अभी ये अल्फा और जो मैं retained के लिए अल्फा यूज कर रही हूँ मतलब अलग अलग है दोनों का, लेकिन just you have no choice for now. ये retained proportion वाला अल्फा दिया है. Or you can give it some own notation and define it while you're writing your solution. Point 8. Determine the distribution of reinsurers claim payment. Meaning they're asking you Z का distribution क्या है. And hence estimate the parameters alpha and lambda using method of moments. तो method of moment हमने previous chapter में revise किया था, so that ये chapter में everything will be used, MLE, MOM, incomplete sample, everything. So what I have to eventually do is estimate alpha hat and lambda hat. सो टेक्निकली अगर ये वाला सेक्शन नहीं दिया होता ना कि डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फाइंड करो एंड हेंस कैलकुलेट अल्फा एंड लैम्बडा, I actually what I would have done is expectation of Z equals to so and so. Expectation of Z आपको Z बार ये डेटा से आ जाएगा, मतलब you will have this value. But this Z I very well know from all of this. Z is nothing but 20% of aggregate claim amount. Meaning I can write this as 0.2 times X equal to जो भी Z बार का value आएगा. 0.2 कॉमन आ जाएगा. E of x equal to Z bar and x का distribution हमको पता है gamma है, hence I can write down this as 0.2 alpha by lambda equals to this value. Again I'm repeating Z bar अपने पास है. So I'll get one equation here. Similarly, variance of Z, you can find out the value here. This you have because you have the data, meaning variance of 0.2x and therefore 0.2 square variance of gamma is alpha by lambda square equal to this value, and this will become your second equation. You have two equations in terms of alpha and lambda, two unknowns to solve for. You will be able to get alpha lambda, and which will be absolutely same as the method that we're going to take now. Final answer आपका कुछ differ नहीं होगा. It's just that because they've clearly defined in the question the process that needs to be taken, we will not be able to use this. I am just telling you this approach because usually in class I get this a lot कि मैम मेरे को सेम आंसर आया है ये वाले मेथड से, तो whether this is correct or no. So technically it is correct, but the idea is not just getting the final answer but also serving to what the question is asking for. So I will have to figure out how to get the distribution of Z. Now basically this is transformation. So आपने CS1 में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के काफी टेक्निक्स सीखे होते हैं. इनफैक्ट जिसने CT3 किया होगा they might have also seen some Jacobian approach of transforming a variable. But for now if you don't remember that's fine. अभी के लिए I'm giving you the MGF approach. This is going to be the easiest out of the few that are possible. So I know that MZT by definition is expectation of e raised to tz. This is equal to expectation of e raised to t, z के जगह पे 0.2x आ जाएगा. So I'm basically going to try and bring it in the form of MGF of x because x का distribution मेरे को पता है. Since I know this, I know that MGF of x is 1 minus t by lambda raised to minus alpha. Hence, this here, by the definition, can I write this as MGF of x? Instead of just t, I'm combining these two and writing it as 0.2t. So notice it's the same formula. MZT is expectation of e raised to 2z. Had I asked you what is MZ2t, you would have written this as expectation of e raised to 2tz. तो यहाँ पे वो 2t के जगह पे 0.2t है. Hence it is MGF of x. See, x के साथ कुछ merge नहीं कर सकते because I can't have here 2x. Because in that case I would require the distribution of 2x. Since I know the distribution of x, I will only keep my random variable that here. This is basically telling me what is your variable that you're working with. So now you know MGF xt पे क्या है. So if I have to find mx 0.2 t, all that I have to do is substitute t के जगह पे 0.2 t. For that, I can write this as 1 minus 0.2 t by lambda minus alpha. 0.2 I can write it as 1 by 5. And then we can say this is nothing but MGF of gamma distribution with parameters alpha and lambda के जगह पे phi lambda. And therefore, by using something called as uniqueness property of MGF, you can say your random variable z here, because this is mzt, follows a gamma distribution with these parameters. So my first section is done here, which was asking me to determine the reinsurer's distribution. Second one was hence estimate alpha and lambda using method of moments, meaning I'm going to do the same thing, expectation of z. So when you calculate E of z and V of z here, you get E of z, by E of z I mean z bar. Basically sample mean here is 12.65 and the variance of this data is 119.83. So you can put it in your calculator. For now, I'm just giving it to you. So what happens here is, by method of moments, I will equate expected value of z to z bar, giving me alpha by lambda equals to 12.65 and variance of z equal to that sample variance, meaning alpha by lambda square equals to 119.834. So now I have two equations and two unknowns. I will solve them simultaneously to estimate the values of alpha and lambda. So finish this question. Let me know what is alpha and lambda here. Basically, what we've covered through this question is how to find reinsurer's distribution under method of proportional reinsurance. तो proportional reinsurance में हमेशा ये वाला method use कर सकते हो, because as per the model only it's always going to be in this form, and as long as it is in this form, this MGF approach will always work. So for proportional, again, finding reinsurer's distribution is easy. We'll be doing something similar for excess of loss also. Over there it might get a little tricky, so at least be sure you're comfortable here. I'll just take again a pause here, go through the question, solve and give me alpha and lambda, and then we proceed with the next method. Yes, Mansi, you can use your speaker if you want. Sorry, your microphone.
So I have a question. When we say in terms of a proportionate in reinsurance, So, for example, if the part of the reinsurer follows a gamma, won't the part which is for the for the I mean, if the insurers numbers are following, for example, gamma distribution. So, since it's a proportionate distribution, won't the reinsurers numbers also follow the gamma distribution? Because we are saying it's a proportionate treaty. So, if claims the proportions shall remain the same. So, if 80% of the number is following gamma, won't 20% also follow the same distribution? I
Correct.
don't know.
So usually in proportional reinsurance, the distribution turns out to be majorly same with different parameters obviously, because for aggregate mein mera data must be of 10,000, 12,000, 13,000, 9,000 such sample. But for a reinsurer it may be 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, 4,000. So the amounts, since that they differ, the parameters differ, but almost majority of the times you end up getting the same distribution for reinsurer. But having distribution same doesn't mean the parameters needs to be same. That's one. And sometimes under some special circumstances, it happens so that your sample, as per the sample that you're working with, there is another distribution which is showing an excellent fit for your data set. So you sometimes do consider some other distributions also, just considering the pattern. But like I said, majorly for proportional, especially your distribution remains the same. Just the parameters will fluctuate. Great. All right. You found the values. Am I saying uniqueness property can be used for all continuous distributions? Not just for continuous distribution. Uniqueness property of MGF is for any distribution, be it discrete or continuous. To name a few other methods, you also have, so one is the MGF method that I told you. I could have done the same thing using a CDF method if CDF exists. For some distributions, CDF may exist and MGF may not. And for a distribution like gamma, MGF exists but CDF does not. So depending on what is available in hands, you make use of that. There is a method PDF also. PDF तो हर distribution का exist करता ही है, but sometimes the PDF method becomes a little lengthy. And an alternative to PDF method, you just have some few steps that have been structured called as a Jacobian method. So all of these approaches were eventually to work with transformation, random variable transformation. And talking about the answers, alpha hat is 0.021125. Yeah. Variance with denominator. Solution. Okay, by default, you use sample variance only. In some initial questions, they've used the denominator n, but majorly in all the past questions, they stick to sample variance, basically with denominator n minus 1 when nothing is mentioned. And a lot of places, they've given due credit to denominator n also, meaning if you go and look at a few past exam questions and they are indicative solutions over there वो लोग comment में mention भी करते हैं कि students who've used n in the denominator have been given the due credit. But if I go by the pattern of what this use in the past paper solutions or your revision notes, they usually stick to a denominator of n minus 1. All right, so to visualize, this is what we are looking at, a proportional reinsurance where each and every claim amount there is a fixed proportion that is being paid by reinsurer. Moving on to excess of loss. Excess of loss has a retention limit. Like in this case, notice anything above in excess of 20,000 is in black, meaning that's what is going to be paid by the reinsurer. In some cases, there may as well be an upper limit also. So what we mean by all of this is working with excess of loss reinsurance. What happens in this one? If suppose I'm saying, so first of all, iske andar you have something called as a retention limit that we denote by M. Like for in this example, M was 20,000 pounds. So suppose my data, for example, my raw data of claim amount is, so I'm taking a retention of suppose 100 and my data originally is 80, 100, 120, 90, 150. So right now I'm working with a retention limit with no upper bound. Khali 100, anything in excess of 100 is to be paid by reinsurer. तो अब इसमें इंश्योरर क्या पे करेगा? Anything less than 100 पूरा का पूरा इंश्योरर पे करेगा. Even less than and equal to insurer. When I reach here, insurer will only pay 100. It's not that he's paying 0. It's not that 120 पे गया तो पूरा 120 reinsurer भरेगा. Reinsurer सिर्फ वो excess amount पे करता है. Meaning for reinsurer, no payment here, no payment here, and an excess payment of 20 here. Entire payment by reinsurer, nothing, sorry, insurer, nothing by reinsurer. 100 will be paid 50. सो नोटिस कैसे एक अपर बाउंड हो गया है. 100 के ऊपर इंश्योरर का क्लेम अमाउंट जाएगा ही नहीं इन दिस केस. सो अभी यही सारी चीज को अगर इन जनरल मॉडल करना है, इफ एक्स इज माई क्लेम अमाउंट, कैन आई से वाई is same as x if my claim amount itself is anywhere less than or equal to the retention limit. And I will stop at the retention limit like I do here. If my claim exceeds the retention limit. ये मेरा मॉडल हो जाएगा इंश्योरर के लिए. Similarly for reinsurer, I pay nothing if my claim amount is less than retention, and the excess amount of x minus m if it is in excess of retention limit. So this can be the model for my reinsurer in this case. So excess of loss is when I fix a limit. Proportionate is when I'm fixing a percentage for each claim amount. So proportionate में हर claim amount में reinsurer involved होगा. Excess of loss में reinsurer may or may not be involved depending upon what is the value that X is taking. So in this case, if I have to find expected value of Y, this I will have to, so Y takes a value of X when X takes in the range of, or my amount is in the range of 0 to M. So expected value कैसे होता है? Integration x fx dx. So this is integration x fx dx plus integration m fx dx for the range going from m to infinity. Now m being a constant, ये तो सेम ही रहेगा, but this m being a constant can be taken out, and the remaining section is nothing but integrating my PDF from m to infinity. So it is same as the probability of my claim amount exceeding m. So this sometimes instead of integrating actually, अगर CDF exist करता है, तो I can say this is 1 minus probability x less than equal to m, meaning 1 minus CDF of x at m. So sometimes we end up using this formula. In fact, whenever possible, we try and use this formula to avoid integration. But what I'm trying to highlight here is एक्सपेक्टेशन फाइंड करना इतना स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड नहीं होगा जैसे लास्ट टाइम सिंपली मल्टीप्लाई किया था. इस बार थोड़ा मेहनत जाएगा क्योंकि इंटीग्रेशन करना पड़ता है. वेरिएंस अगर फाइंड करना है तो आई विल आल्सो हैव टू फाइंड e of y square. So now it's going to be the same thing. e of y square अगर फाइंड करना है इट विल बी सिंपली y स्क्वायर आएगा तो यहाँ पे भी x स्क्वायर आ जाएगा, यहाँ पे m स्क्वायर आ जाएगा. But just like m was a constant, m square is also a constant. And again inside I'll be left with 1 minus CDF of x at m. और ये दोनों आ गया तो वेरिएंस फाइंड होगा by taking e of y square minus e of y the whole square. On very similar lines, I can also find e of z using the model above. So as long as amount less than m है तो जीरो ही है, तो लिखने का जरूरत ही नहीं है. जीरो से कुछ भी मल्टीप्लाई करोगे तो जीरो ही रहेगा. And when my range is m to infinity, my z takes a value of x minus m fx dx. So in order to solve, basically you'll have to open the bracket. So it will become integration x fx dx. Going from m to infinity minus m this going from m to infinity. Yeah, तो e of z square similarly find कर सकते हो. It will be integration of x minus m the whole square fx dx. So first you're going to use the formula a square minus 2ab plus b square, and then you're going to split it. तो तीन integrations आ जाएंगे, फिर तीनों को solve करके आपका e of z square आता है. And similarly variance of z will be minus e of z the whole square. In fact, if you look at these two formulae, if I find e of y plus e of z, I have e of y as x fx dx going from 0 to m plus integration m fx dx going from m to infinity, plus e of z is integration x fx dx going from m to infinity minus integration m fx dx going from m to infinity. So what happens is ये तो cancel हो जाता है. This is 0 to m x fx dx. This is the m to infinity x fx dx. So when you add, you basically get 0 to infinity x fx dx, which is nothing but e of x. This is basically जो हमने starting में I had given you this one statement that expectation of y plus e of z will always give you e of x. So this is just for the sake of kind of see mathematically how things are happening. This is not very important derivation. What you need to now be comfortable with is the model. एक बार ये मॉडल ठीक से बन गया ना, तो उसके बाद आप इंटीग्रेशन एंड एवरीथिंग तो फिगर आउट कर लोगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मेरे को मॉडल बनाना है, my question says that suppose these are my claim amounts, individual claim amounts, and I have a retention limit starting from here, and like you had above, a retention limit ending suppose here. And suppose, so this was not the previous case. Suppose I'm saying I have a retention limit of m and I'm going to cover your risk up to 2m. Meaning अगर 1000 रिटेंशन लेवल है तो 1000 से 2000 के बीच का जो भी अमाउंट होगा वो री इंश्योरर पे करेगा. If m is 5000, the range becomes 5000 to 10,000. If m is 8000, it becomes 8000 to 16,000. So I'm just telling you in general, suppose ऐसा कुछ दिया है. So here if I have to write down my model, can I say it will be same as x if the amount is, so what reinsurer is paying in each one of the cases is this amount. तो अभी फिलहाल इंश्योरर के लिए can I say it will be x as long as x is less than retention. It will be same as retention, meaning m, but only as long as x lies between m and 2m. In case मेरा actual amount 2m को cross करेगा, so then I no longer have to pay only this. अभी तक तो क्या चल रहा है, मेरे को खाली यही पे करना है मेजॉरिटी. बट इन दैट केस अगर इसको भी क्रॉस हो रहा है 2m को भी, तो देन आई ऑल्सो हैव टू कंसिडर दिस. तो बेसिकली कैन आई से ये टोटल अमाउंट है x, उसमें से I will subtract this, and this here is nothing but 2m minus m equal to m. मीनिंग अगर रिटेंशन 8000 है तो 8000 से 16000 तक जा रहा है, मतलब मैक्सिमम जो री इंश्योरर पे करेगा एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम इज दैट अमाउंट ऑफ 8000 बिकॉज इट इज पेइंग इन एक्सेस ऑफ 8. तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो इंश्योरर के लिए, री इंश्योरर के लिए क्या है, मेकिंग अ पेमेंट ऑफ दिस. एट नो पॉइंट ही विल हैव टू पे एनीथिंग मोर देन दिस. तो कैन आई से बेसिकली ये पूरे अमाउंट में से इफ आई सब्ट्रैक्ट दिस m, that's basically what my reinsurer is paying in this case. Or in other words, if x is greater than 2m, the amount that insurer is paying is x minus m. Whatever is the total claim amount, उसमें से m subtract कर दो reinsurer का amount, what I'm left with is y. Now the reason I'm telling you this is not one of the standard models. This is just कि आपके question में कभी कभी वो लोग explain करेंगे कि how your arrangement works. एंड अकॉर्डिंगली तुमको तुम्हारा मॉडल फिगर आउट करना पड़ेगा. दैट व्हेन आई से मॉडल आई एम बेसिकली सेइंग दिस सेक्शन. इफ यू आर एबल टू मेक दिस, उसके आगे वो लोग आपको एक्सपेक्टेशन पूछेंगे, वेरिएंस पूछेंगे, ऑल ऑफ दैट मैथमेटिक्स इज समथिंग दैट यू कैन डू. एंड मॉडल मेकिंग, ट्रस्ट मी, एक दो एग्जांपल करोगे, इट्स नॉट एट ऑल डिफिकल्ट. इट्स you get used to it very fast. So this is all about reinsurer. And excess of loss method. Again, I'll take a pause for you to go through the whole thing. Then we'll try a couple of questions. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll take all of your questions one by one. So when I say x or any variable, I'm just talking about in general, don't take it as in context of the notations now. If I say my x can take two possible values, or rather I'll say it can take either values in the range of 5 to 15 with some probability. In this case, it's a random variable. And or else it takes a value 50 for some condition given here. The idea being I'm saying कि या तो मेरा claim amount होता है 5 to 15 के range में depending on some condition, or my x takes a value of 50. So what I'm trying to kind of highlight here is, here I have a range and here I have a constant. But when I ask you what is expected value, what is expected value of x? So if I ask you what is expected value of x under this condition, then I can directly say it is 50. Expected value of x will be 50 under this condition. But for this condition to be possible, there will be some probability associated with it. So I'm saying there is a 10% chance that this condition will happen. Meaning there is a 10% chance that my x will take a value of 50. So when I'm giving an expected value of x, I will not just say E of x is 50. The average will be somewhere in the middle. And this is kind of like a weighted average. Depending on what are the chances ke 50 aayega. So if I'm saying there's a very little chances of 50, I will see mean pushed a little towards this range. But if there's a high probability of 50, my mean will be pushed towards 50. But when I ask you on an average x ka value kya aayega, it can either be 50 or maybe 60, just in picking something else. I have some percentage associated with both. So when I'm giving average value क्या है E of x का, I will have to take 15 to 10% plus 5 to 15 into 90% to give you on an average. It's a very simple idea of x taking 5 values, each having some probability. I will not say ये constant हो गया ये range में, ये constant हो गया ये range में. I take an average of the whole thing and I take a weighted average with weights being nothing but the probability. So even logically speaking, constant है doesn't mean कि वो आपका expected value वो constant की equal हो जाएगा. There is some probability also that you have to take care of, which is exactly what you're doing here. This is the value that E of y will take. But what is the probability that this will happen? This will only happen when x exceeds m. So I'm trying to find out what is the probability of x exceeding m. And that probability I'm multiplying to m to give me on an average मेरा y का value क्या होगा. So that's basically the thought process. I will have to integrate the constant. Integration is basically giving you that probability. Otherwise constant तो निकल गया. इधर आपको integration इधर भी वही काम हो रहा है. Technically integration क्या कर रहा है? It's taking all possible values of x and multiplying it by its respective densities. It's multiplying everything and adding. Just that क्योंकि यहाँ पे वेरिएबल है तो मैं कांस्टेंट बाहर नहीं ले सकती, मेरे को एक एक करके मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे क्योंकि कांस्टेंट है, इट्स अ सिंगल वैल्यू, आई कैन टेक इट आउट एंड सिंपली मल्टीप्लाई बाय दैट सिंगल प्रोबेबिलिटी. Let me know if that answers your question. और क्या था? For E of y, we need PDF of y. So again, giving you a simple example for this. So the argument put up by Vanshika is correct, but I'll give you even simpler one. Consider as simple as if I ask you what is E of x square. What do? You write down this as integration of x square into PDF तो x ही रहता है ना. You don't take this as integration of x square into PDF of x square. ऐसे तो नहीं करते ना. Because we know that x square is a function of x only, we are taking this as PDF of x. Similarly, if you notice, in this range, y is nothing but a function of x. Hence, taking PDF of x is justified in this case. It is as good as saying x का values 1, 2, 3 है with probabilities, suppose this. If I ask you, give me probability distribution or expectation of x square, I will only square x and not its probability. I just make a column of x square. This becomes 1 square, 2 square, 3 square. And the probability that x square takes a value of 2 square is same as probability of x taking a value of 2. Whatever is the probability of x taking a value of 2 is same as the probability of x square taking a value of 4. x square 4 तभी होगा जब x 2 होगा. तो अगर x 2 होने का probability 40% है तो x square 4 होने का probability भी 40% ही होगा. I'm just giving you a very basic level का explanation, but the idea is as simple as y being a function of x here, I can take PDF of x. And to support Vanshika's argument, like she also said, if suppose y takes a value of 5x, and if I want to find expected value of y, I can write this as integration of 5x into PDF of x, because this 5x is nothing but a function of x only, and this 5x total is nothing but y. मैं से यहाँ पे randomly कुछ भी नहीं ले सकती हूँ. I'm taking this yx because y is taking a value 5x, and then I'm trying to find out what is this PDF of x and everything. The point being, मेरे को हर बार y का PDF फाइंड करने का जरूरत नहीं. अगर मेरे को कोई 5x का एक्सपेक्टेशन पूछेगा, I will not first run to find PDF of 5x and then come back and find expectation. I just have to find कि वो function is a function of what variable, and that वो basic variable का distribution as long as है आपके पास, you don't really have to take that longer route of first finding distribution and then going ahead. That's basically the entire reason why we're able to do this here. Gitika, see if this answers your question, if this is what you were trying to understand. All right, if I've missed any question, any query from your end, do paste it again and bring it in the recent chat. If not, and if you're comfortable with this, now y equal to m, the insurer will pay that part. Okay. So this is if my claim amount, chalo, we'll take this only. If my m is 20,000, so anything in the range of 20,000 to 40,000, reinsurer will be involved. So for example, my claim amount is of 30,000. So this doesn't mean entire 30,000 will be paid by reinsurer. इसमें से 20,000 अभी भी insurer ही pay करेगा. And that remaining excess वाला amount, which is 10,000, will be paid by reinsurer. Even if the claim amount was 35,000, still 20,000 will be paid by insurer and 15,000 will go to reinsurer. So when I generalize this, I basically mean as long as amount ये range में रहेगा, insurer 20,000 ही pay करेगा, which is this M amount. This M amount insurer is paying, this M amount insurer is paying, this M amount insurer is paying. And this red amount, which is the excess amount. So if my actual amount is here, this minus M is what reinsurer के पास जाएगा. So it's not the entire 30,000 paid by reinsurer, it's only the excess amount. So that 20,000 in both the cases, which is M for us right now, is still paid by insurer. So this will still be paid by him as long as the claim amount here. इसके भी अगर आगे गया, now if my claim amount oh shit. So now if my claim amount, suppose becomes 45,000. अब इसमें से री इंश्योरर कितना पे करेगा? ही सेड एनीथिंग इन बिटवीन 20 to 40 ही विल पे. सो 20 to 40 के बीच में दैट 20,000, दैट इनिशियल 20,000 इंश्योरर पे कर रहा है. उसके बाद का नेक्स्ट री इंश्योरर जो जितना उसका लाइबिलिटी था, और जो उसके ऊपर का वापस 5,000 बचा वो वापस इंश्योरर के पास जाता है. So what is the total amount that insurer is paying? Insurer is paying everything other than this 20,000, which is the maximum amount paid by reinsurer. So if this is 45k, 45k में से 20k subtract करोगे, जो भी amount बचेगा, meaning in this case this 20 plus 5, 25k will be reinsurer's liability. Okay. So if I have X following Pareto distribution with 6,200, you've been given a retention limit of 80. You have to find what is the expected value of Y. Mansi Nishit, yes, 32.56 is correct. So for all those who are getting different answers, we have integration x into PDF as alpha lambda raised to alpha, lambda plus x raised to alpha plus 1 dx plus m into, for Pareto distribution, CDF is 1 minus lambda upon lambda plus x raised to alpha. So 1 minus CDF will only be lambda upon lambda plus, and since we are looking at CDF at m, तो x के जगह पे m आ जाएगा, and this raised to alpha. This is going from 0 to 80. So it's up to you how you want to solve this इसके आगे. Since I did not solve using substitution last time, I'll give substitution a try now. For this section, ये तो हो गया, इसमें से वैल्यू सब्स्टिट्यूट करनी है अभी. इसमें अल्फा लैम्बडा रेज टू अल्फा कॉमन ले सकते हो, तो just directly, since I've given you time to solve, I can skip a couple of steps. I'll say let lambda plus x equals to t, therefore dx is equal to dt, and range क्या हो जाएगा? When x is 0, t is lambda. When x is 80, t is lambda plus 80. So now can I say my E of y will be integration from lambda is 200, so 280. So integration from 200 to 280. अल्फा लैम्बडा रेज टू अल्फा आप कॉमन ले सकते हो, अंदर क्या बचेगा? x, x in terms of t is t minus lambda divided by t raised to alpha plus 1. Alpha is 6, so I can write this as t raised to 7. dx is dt. Plus, this will remain the same as above. So now when you, this is integration of t raised to minus 6 minus lambda t raised to minus 7 and therefore t raised to minus 5 upon minus 5 minus lambda t raised to minus 6 upon minus 6, so minus minus plus हो जाएगा. The range going from 200 to 280 plus this. Now substitute everything. This first section here turns out to be 21 point something plus whatever value that comes here should give you a final answer of 32.56. There you go. This is your homework question. I'll share these notes with you. And on this very good note, we'll wrap up here. Bye, guys. Take care. Sleep well. This is on page number page 6 of the chapter. So I'll share these notes. I'll connect with you in a few days in the morning. I'll let you know when on the group. Bye, guys.